Peter Boland was just 9 years old when he went missing on a remote farm in 1957.
We searched everywhere and we couldn't find him anywhere.
Did he just wander off?
Nobody knows what happened.
Or was it something more sinister?
There had to be foul play.
He wasn't meant to be found.
A family torn apart.
She always had in the back of her mind that something bad had happened.
It brought home to us the emotional side of what happens when people go missing.
6 decades on, and no one knows what happened to Peter.
As if somebody just plucked him out of it.
2 psychics turn to the spirit world for answers.
The innocence of a child. He wants to be found or put to rest.
Will they uncover the truth behind Peter's disappearance?
Out in the cold, out in the cold. He keeps saying, I'm missing, where am I?
Or will this little boy remain lost forever?
Someone took him. He was taken away. He's just so pure and innocent.
Peter Boland was born nearly 70 years ago. He grew up in the Auckland suburb of Avondale. Then, it was proudly working class, full of fathers who had all been away to war. Neville Boland was a builder and Nell was a postie. They had 2 boys, Gavin, the eldest, and Peter, 15 months younger. Even as a kid, Peter Boland stood out.
He was, I guess you could say, slightly extroverted, confident. He got on well with people, knew how to communicate, and that's probably why he won his essay competition at school, the ASB essay competition. He played a lot of sport. He played rugby league. He played it for 3 or 4 years, and he was very good at it.
In 1950s Avondale, where the Catholic part Māori family lived, life was simple and safe, which gave the brothers plenty of freedom.
Our childhood was a very good one. We used to be able to play tennis on the street because there weren't many cars around. We knew all the people in the neighbourhood. If you went to the picture theatre, you'd meet all the other children from the suburb for the matinee, you know, the Jaffa chucking competitions. When we went to school, we went to the convent. We had to walk about 2 miles to get there. Often we'd walk instead of catching a bus.
Their father was blue-collar, but Peter had bigger plans.
Even at the age of 9, he was talking about he'd like to be a doctor. That was a pretty high aspiration. Anything to do with the university was uncommon.
But that was for the future. In the meantime, boyhood fun and holidays stretched out before the brothers Gavin and Peter. With both parents working to make ends meet, the brothers often went to family friends when they were off school. One such school holiday offer came through Arthur Brasting, whose dad knew Peter's dad.
Nev Boland was a builder, and my father was a painter and paper hanger, and he used to do all the work for Nev Boland. So they became friends, and through the RSA as well, they were friends.
It was through this family connection that 9-year-old Peter Boland was invited to spend the August school holidays of 1957 on a remote farm near Gisborne. Peter had been the page boy at the wedding of the farm manager, Ken Woods, who married Arthur's sister.
When they shifted down to the Waiweka, he was asked would he like to go on holiday down there for the August holidays.
Brother Gavin didn't understand why he couldn't go on the farm adventure with Peter.
I sort of questioned my mother. I said, oh, what's the story, you know? And she said, oh, you'll be going next time. I questioned the actions of my parents in a way, because I would never do that. I would never have let my 9-year-old go away on a trip like that. I just wouldn't have. I would have insisted that I was going with them. Yeah, I think 9 was, it's a probably not secure enough environment to allow a 9-year-old to go into.
As it transpired, Gavin's uneasiness was well-founded, but the trip still went ahead.
Ken came up to Auckland with my sister, Nolene, to put her in the hospital because she was having a baby, and he brought Peter back when he came back.
The Waiaweka Gorge between Opotiki and Gisborne was very remote and rugged in the 1950s. Peter arrived at the large farm with Ken, full of excitement and looking forward to his holiday. Along with Ken was the owner's son, Peter Innes Smith, Auckland man Les Smith, and Arthur.
We had time off, so we went down to visit the sister and the brother-in-law, and Peter was there. Hell of a nice little lad he was, Peter was.
Peter was 10 years younger than Arthur and the others, who were all in their early 20s. But everyone was keen to enjoy the holiday. On Saturday, August the 31st, 1957, Peter was expecting to go exploring with a new friend Billy who lived near the farm. His father worked at the nearby Ministry of Works camp. Billy has since died, but his sister Tangi Moi Clay remembers Peter from nearly 60 years ago.
He used to come down to our place, and my brother Billy used to take him for a walk.
That day, Billy went to collect Peter, but he was already out.
They said he had gone out with Ken and Peter Innes Smith to catch the horses.
It was very foggy because the Waiaweka Gorge was evil. In August it was very, very foggy. And we needed the horses, so we went out. There was myself and Les Smith, there was Peter Innes Smith and Ken Woods and little Peter. Now little Peter went with Les Smith and myself down towards the river to see if we could find the horses, and Peter, the other Peter and Ken went up to find them. Well, we found the horses.
Finally, we found the bastards.
And we said to little Peter, pop up and tell Ken, we got the horses, we'll see you back at the house.
Peter, run off and tell the others we found them.
And that was it. Last time we saw him.
Peter Boland was a 9-year-old Auckland schoolboy. During the August school holidays in 1957, Peter was having a farm holiday in the Waiaweka Gorge between Opotiki and Gisborne.
He was a city boy, Avondale boy he was, but he just loved the farm as well. And he'd do any little jobs you wanted to do, run any little messages, you know, like kids like to do when they're in that situation, yeah.
Sometime after breakfast, the morning of Saturday, August the 31st, the 4 men and young Peter headed off up the farm to find some missing horses. Arthur remembers the weather as they approached the valley where they believed the horses were.
It was thick fog, real thick fog, pea super it is. We decided to split up to find the horses.
The horses could have been anywhere. Arthur, Les and young Peter searched lower down the valley, while the others were over a stream and further up the hill.
We just walked and walked until we found the horses.
Finally, we found the bastards. Peter, run off and tell the others we found them.
And we said to little Peter, pop up and tell Ken, we got the horses, we'll see you back at the house. Once he'd gone so many metres we couldn't see him, he was in the fog. Ken came back down again and he said, oh, where's Peter?
Peter tell you we found the horses?
And I said, oh, he's looking for you.
Oh, yeah.
He said, well, he'd never arrived.
Whereabouts?
And then we started looking for him and shouting out,
Peter! Peter!
Until the fog cleared, the men weren't too concerned. They thought he'd turn up.
Go on, Pete!
I never gave much thought about it, actually, until, I suppose, later on, when he never turned up at all, and kids wander off, they do their own thing and all the rest.
Peter!
And then we came back with the horses to the house.
The house was some considerable distance down the valley. Only then did they start to think that something bad may have happened.
We searched as the fog lifted, we searched everywhere, and we couldn't find him anywhere.
Pete!
I have checked, and no one seems to know who notified the authorities, though. I've talked to Ken about this, and he's got no idea who raised the alarm. Yeah, but obviously someone did.
Sensing murderers unable to check when the alarm was raised, that's because, unbelievably, there is no police file. There is no evidence of one ever existing.
Peter!
The police arrived at the farm soon after midday, and everyone searched all afternoon.
Peter!
As darkness fell, they lit a fire in the hope that Peter would see it and make his whereabouts known. The next day, amongst the volunteers who arrived was the young Brian Burgess.
There was about 20 or 30 people standing in a circle, one local policeman there, and they were discussing what might have happened to the boy and where they had searched.
The men were told Peter was wearing his school uniform and gumboots.
We've got a 9-year-old boy out there. He's lost, he's scared, and the sooner we find him, the better his chances of being alive.
We had enough people there, virtually to hold hands right from the creek, for the river to the hill, right through. And we literally covered every inch of ground there was to be recovered. But no sight, no sign.
Jim Kirk worked on the farm as a shepherd. He'd been away, but returned to find the search underway.
Basically, people were bamboozled. They didn't know what had happened. And I think that's the same as of today. Nobody knows what happened.
Arthur Brasting and the farm owner's son were given the job of checking the waterways.
Peter and myself dived the river. That was cold, I can tell you that. All we had on was long pants and a bloody woolen pullover. We dived in all the holes.
I can't find him! Where is he?
Never found sight nor sign of anyone there.
Meanwhile, back in Auckland, Neville and Nell Boland got word their son was missing.
My parents had to go away. I remember them packing me up and sending me to live with my cousins in Onehunga. I had no idea of the gravity of the situation. As far as I was concerned, you know, Peter would be coming back soon. Mum and Dad would come back. Everything would go on as normal.
At the farm, the searching intensified. Eventually, numbers swelled to beyond 150, making it New Zealand's largest search at that time. Brian Burgess remembers seeing Peter Boland's mother, who'd now arrived at the farm.
We'd been looking for a missing boy. No emotion, no nothing. It was a little an adventure for us. When you saw the effect that the boy's loss was already having on this lady, it brought home to us the emotional side of what happens when people go missing.
11-year-old Gavin Boland, left behind in Auckland, knew very little of what was unfolding nearly 400 kilometres away. The boy was concerned about his weekly pocket money.
Dear Mum, I accidentally left my 2 shillings and 6pence at home and would hope that Peter is found soon. What is the weather like down where you are? Because it is very good here. I will have to close now, so ta-ta, kiss, 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 your son, Gavin. Typical accountant, you know, started early. But yeah, no, I mean, that just shows you I didn't consider it to be any major trauma.
Buddy Buckley didn't think it was much of a trauma either. He was part of the nearby Ministry of Works camp, knew the area well, and believed the boy's way home was simple.
Well, naturally, if you get lost, you've got to come back down. You're not going to start climbing faces and that, are you? The way I'd be thinking, head down, follow the stream down.
The days of exhaustive searching dragged on, and with no sign of Peter, the men began to speculate why they hadn't found a body.
Well, knowing the country, if a boy died in the fern somewhere, or anybody died in the fern anywhere, or in the scrub or in the bush, I would say that the pigs would have dealt to him within a week.
Dad's always said that if a pig attacked him, they wouldn't eat his gumboots.
Was the boy wearing gumboots? Who knows?
That wasn't the only question. searchers started to think they were looking in the wrong place, that if something had happened to the boy, perhaps it had occurred somewhere else. The property's former owner was particularly dubious about the search area.
Mr. McRae said that he couldn't have gone missing there. In the bushes, you know, quite a distance from where they said he had gone missing from.
Buddy Buckley is another who never believed the story of how Peter disappeared.
There had to be foul play. That's what the first thing that comes into your mind.
One of the searchers, Peter's uncle, was an expert bushman. He couldn't believe there was no sign of the youngster, and he relayed those suspicions down through the years to his son.
I've been asked about the possibility of Peter falling into the river, and I've always said, if he did, guys like my father would have seen evidence of where he had fallen in. I mean, they were that good.
And he also discounts the theory that Peter was attacked by pigs. He's certain his father would have found some trace of the boy.
Pigs don't eat rubber, you know, I mean, we've seen carcasses that have been ripped apart by pigs, and they don't take everything, you know. I mean, there's a mess. I suspect foul play. He wasn't meant to be found. If he's there, he was put somewhere where whoever put him there knew that searchers wouldn't go there.
Would you send a 9-year-old kid up there by himself? No.
What happened to the 9-year-old Peter Boland in 1957? Despite a 5-day intensive search, no trace of the youngster was found. Did he simply wander off and succumb to the elements? Or was there something more sinister? Peter's brother Gavin has never been to the farm where his brother went missing 6 decades ago. His parents never suggested a family pilgrimage to remember Peter. It was too painful.
They seemed to protect me by not telling me too much about what had happened. They never took me down there. And as a consequence, I've sort of never made it a priority to actually visit the farm.
All Gavin knows is that the sudden disappearance of his little brother changed his life forever.
I guess it made me more of a loner, probably very selfish. I was always looking after myself. I was always protective of not letting people get too close. And I guess, in hindsight, it's probably to do with him being there 1 minute and gone the next.
Afterwards, he developed what would now be called survivor syndrome.
I've always felt a little guilt because he went missing on the trip that I should have gone on. I come to terms with that now. I understand my behaviour, but I didn't for a long time, and probably upset a lot of people along the way.
Sensing Murder has arranged for Gavin and his wife Norma to meet two of the searchers, Brian Burgess and Jim Kirk, who looked for his brother all those years ago. They're taken to the places where searchers were told Peter was last seen, about 2 kilometres from the farmhouse.
We're here. There's a house, and see where it says Ford there? That Ford? That's where we are now, that's down there, yeah.
The farm has changed in the past 60 years. With forestry, there's been a lot of regrowth.
Wasn't quite as good a track as this then, but it wasn't far short of it.
Jim and Brian want to find out whether the city boy, Peter, could handle being in the bush.
What was he like? Was he a cheeky little bugger or what?
He was confident.
Confident, yeah.
He'd spent a lot of time doing outdoor activities. He was a good sportsman. Even at 9, you know, he was a kid that had his own measure of life, you know.
You'd have no compunction about sending him across an area like this. A 9-year-old boy would be smart enough to do that.
Well, you would if you knew where you were going and you knew someone was up there to meet you.
Well, apparently that was supposed to be the case. The boy was on this side with one party. He was sent over to that side to the other party. And he had to do that, he had to cross this creek. Yeah. But once he got down here, he was never seen again.
Today, the creek is running high as a result of recent heavy rain. Everyone agrees that the stream had very little water on that day back in 1957.
It would be a matter of 300 or 400 yards. The boy had to go maximum across a small stream that was quite fordable. You'd walk across in your shoes and hardly get wet.
So why didn't Peter make it to the men on the other side of the stream? Brian initially suspected foul play, but now questions the capabilities of a 9-year-old.
I am of the mind that the boy, in all probability, did get lost. He was a little boy, a little town boy on a big, big farm, and he just got himself lost.
For nearly 60 years, Gavin had also believed that his younger brother went missing on the farm. But now, having seen the area, he's increasingly suspicious.
I don't really believe that he would have gone bush. He would have stayed there, or he would have certainly yelled out. He wasn't one who'd succumbed to the cold in one night. To me, it's more likely that something untoward happened.
In the August school holidays of 1957, 9-year-old Peter Boland went missing while staying at a remote farm in the Waiaweka Gorge between Opotiki and Gisborne. On Saturday, August the 31st, Peter went out to help 4 men find some missing horses, but he never returned. After 5 days, the official search was called off, and the Boland parents, not knowing what had happened to their youngest son, were forced to return to Auckland.
My mother was very upset. Yeah, she was very tearful. But very difficult to judge my father, you know. Obviously, it affected him, but he was more stoic, I guess, you know.
The family would never be the same again without Peter.
It was like he'd gone away, but when you don't have a death or a body, there was no sort of finality. Even the church wouldn't allow a death service, you know.
Julie was born after her brother went missing.
I was told about Peter when I was 12.
Even though his disappearance hung over the family like a dark cloud, Julie's mother rarely spoke of him.
She didn't talk about it very much, but she was very, very close to him. She only told me a couple of things. She said that he had to wear his school uniform a lot down there for clothing. I don't know why, maybe because it was not much money in those days. And she also wondered what his last meal was. I think she thought there had been foul play.
I guess she always had in the back of her mind that something bad had happened. It was just a feeling, you know. She didn't really want to talk too much about it. She probably felt that something would come out at some stage, that either a body would be found or somebody would say they knew something about it.
When she died in 2001, Nell Boland left behind some surprises. The first was that she had asked a nephew to contact the police.
Just out of the blue, she rang home and asked if I could look into Peter's disappearance for her. I think she really wanted closure. I think that she knew that she wouldn't be around much longer, and she wanted closure on Peter.
Unfortunately, Nell died before Ken could report that there were no surviving official documents. No police files, no missing persons report, no coroner's determination. But Nell herself left something behind.
My mother had a box. She kept all her family photographs going way back. And when she died, I inherited them. And I went through and I found a psychic or a medium reading.
Gavin had always thought his very Christian mother didn't believe in the spirit world.
In my upbringing as a Catholic, mediums, etc., were frowned upon by the Catholic Church.
But there it was, proof that his mother had desperately tried to find answers from the other side.
Well, it starts off, "Are you the little boy who was lost in the bush?" Answer, "Yes, I come to you. Where is your body, little boy? It is under the fern trees. I thought I would catch the horse, but he got away. I'm not frightened anymore. Goodbye.
Some years after he found the reading, Gavin and his second wife Norma went to a psychic show themselves. The psychic was Kelvin Cruikshank.
He wrote a few things on the board about how he worked, and he turned round and he pointed at me or around me, and he said, I've got your mother here. She's very happy, she's with her boy. I'm a sceptic in terms of mediums, etc. But the information that came across was so relevant and so accurate, including the way it was phrased. It was definitely from my mother.
He was convinced because the words that Kelvin relayed expressed disapproval about Gavin's decision to leave his first wife.
He said, oh, she's most unhappy. He says, you've married someone else. So I had to make a joke for the audience, to say, well, I had to wait for her to go.
And then the spirit of Peter came through.
He says, oh, I've got your brother here. And he said, you're proud of me. And he said, he was abducted. And he said that it was quick. When they say quick, he was killed quickly. That was the first time that I had any inkling that there was anything other than an accident. And having visited the farm, I now lean towards that more than the fact that it could have been an accident. I would say that the likelihood is that something untoward happened.
Sensing Murder has spoken to the men who were at the farm at the time of the disappearance and their wives. All are now in their 80s. Other than Arthur Brasting, none would be interviewed, but here's what the farm owner's son, Peter Innes Smith, told us. His last sighting of Peter was riding off on horseback with the farm manager, Ken Woods. We contacted Ken to hear his account of events. But after an initial meeting, we received an email threatening legal action if we ever contacted him again.
Someone knows something, but what? Yeah. I mean, the only people in the district were the ones in the house, and then the neighbours were miles away. And there was no strangers around the place. So the only inference can be that somebody in the immediate household did something to him, which I can't think anyone would do. Yeah.
Despite Arthur Brasting's belief that no one else was around, numerous people were in the area at the time, including a large number of road workers who were living at the Ministry of Works camp not far from the farm.
During the reading, I was asked if the name Robert meant anything to me, and it doesn't correspond with any of family or friends that I know. Whether that is the abductor or whether it's just another person that was around at the time, it remains to be seen.
Could the name of the killer be Robert? Might Robert be the person who took Peter and then dumped his body somewhere?
We made a lot of effort on the day, on that period there with searching, and nothing was found. As if somebody just plucked him out of it,
I would hope that the psychics might come up with information, what had happened, how it had happened, and who'd done it. Was it someone that was in the area at the time? I'm trying to look at all possibilities.
Peter Boland disappeared during the August school holidays of 1957. He was staying on a remote farm inland from Gisborne. The 9-year-old went out with a group of men looking for some stray horses. He disappeared into the fog and was never seen again. Gavin Boland has come to Sensing Murder in the hope that new answers can be found for his brother's disappearance.
Whether he actually injured himself and fell in the river, which I still consider a possibility, or the most likely thing, that he was abducted.
Sensing Murder has brought together two of Australasia's top psychics, Sue Nicholson and Deb Webber. English-born Sue has lived in New Zealand for the past 25 years. She's well known for her ability to help bereaved families communicate with loved ones no longer here.
He had this feeling that I've got to do what I can, I've got to live my life the best I can, and that's what he did.
Deb lives on the Sunshine Coast and is also known for her ability to connect with spirits.
She just said to let you know that when you die, you don't have to have any money and you go shopping every day.
Upon their arrival in Opotiki, Deb and Sue, on different days, are directed to a motel where they will attempt to connect with the spirit of Peter Boland. The rules for Sensing Murder are clear. The psychics have no prior information about the victim or the filming locations. They are filmed on separate days. Their job is to provide the victim's name, age, sex, and details of how and when the person died. Correct answers are sometimes confirmed by the film crew. Each psychic is given a downturned photograph. They have 8 hours to make contact with the spirit of the victim. What will Peter choose to reveal?
All right. Gut instinct's telling me, because it's so gentle and quite pure, the energies at the moment. Like I said, I'm not getting roughness or anything like that. I'm just getting the innocence.
I do feel them just as I'm trying to get a picture of them here, but I feel like I've got more of a female energy or a gentle energy.
Dark hair. Laughter. But it's a young laughter.
I hear laughing and we're all joking and everything's fine, and that's what I'm getting.
Why the innocence of a child? Oh, God. I need to know what happened to you. I need to know who you are. I need to know your name. I need to know everything about you. I've got a child, haven't I? I think it's a child.
When I turn it over, I just feel like I want to turn it over. Oh, it's in. Oh, right here. He's got it. That I just kept getting this gentle energy, peace. I can't explain it, but that's what I was getting here.
You're a child, and you want to play.
I can't see an old person. He's not getting any older from the picture. That's what I'm getting.
He's only a little boy, isn't he? He is just a little boy.
He was a gentle soul, but I see a determination within him.
I don't know why I got the word brave then. He's got brave, he's brave.
You know, many people have passed now, and he just wants to be found or put to rest.
I can hear the child's voice, laughing and playing.
There's this love that he has for his mother. You know, I can see his face smiling at his mum. Yeah. And I feel that she could be quite protective of him. Okay, as a brother. Like he had a brother or two brothers.
You had a brother? There's a brother?
Like one. I don't know if there was 3. The 2 boys and a girl.
Sue is correct. There were 2 boys in the Boland family. A sister was born after Peter disappeared.
Mouldy, there's something to do with mouldy energy coming into it a little bit.
Deb is right. Peter was part Māori, and his skin was much darker than that of his siblings.
Like he wants to be nurtured and loved and protected still. So I know he's still quite young in his age.
I just keep seeing him as a boy, not the adult anymore. He's not the adult, he's still a boy.
I think he's probably about 8 or 9.
Show me something on a calendar. It's 9.
Both psychics are correct. Peter Boland was 9 years old when he vanished.
Right, can I turn it over, please? I don't really want to look at it, but I'm going to. Oh, dark-haired little boy. Ball in his hand.
What I'm getting with him, is I'm getting that excitement, like we're going on a trip. I'm not feeling threatened, I'm not feeling frightened or anything like that.
I got the school bag back again, which was interesting, but he keeps mentioning holidays to me.
I got the family home, but then I feel like I'm going to another place.
Yeah, there's an attachment to Auckland with him. I'm not sure what it is. He could have lived up north, he could have lived in Auckland, but there's a drawing to go to Auckland.
Deb and Sue's connection is strong. Peter lived in Auckland, but travelled to the Waioweka Gorge for the school holidays.
He said something about distance, a long way away. So I'm just wondering if his parents were long way away from him.
I feel like I'm going for a ride and riding in different areas.
Hills, rocks, trees. It looks quite rough, actually, the area.
It's weird because it's like his body's missing. Okay, because I don't know if that, but it just right here. He said, I'm missing.
Out in the cold, out in the cold. So he's out in the cold still? Are you a missing person?
Time to find me.
Deb and Sue are correct. Peter is a missing person. His body has never been found.
The trees have got leaves on them. August, that would be August then.
I'm trying to get when he went missing. So it's a 1, 9 and a 7.
I'm thinking late August, only because he takes me into September. So I'm going probably, 28, 29, late August.
1957. 1957. That's not his age. It's when he went missing, 1957. A long time.
So we're looking at August. Yeah, I think he went missing in August in 1957.
Sue and Deb are both correct. Peter went missing in 1957. 9-year-old Peter Boland disappeared in 1957. It was the August school holidays. Everything had started well.
I feel like I'm on a farm at the moment. I feel like I know the farm, but I don't know the farm. So either they know someone from the farm or there's some attachment to it anyway.
So I do feel like there's a family house and there's another house that he goes to stay there or they look after him.
They must have stayed maybe a week, maybe. Yeah, probably the whole week or 2 weeks of the holidays. I'm not sure how long, but he'd been there for a few nights anyway because he takes me into night, day, night, day. What's your name? There's a long stroke in the name as well, so it could be a T, an L, something like that. But there's a B and there's a P.
I keep seeing fields.
It's a very simple name too. It's not very long. I think his name's only got about 4 or 5 letters.
I see fences of fields. Weird, I can hear like pigs snorting or something, so that we're in like I'm in a farm.
You can write your name easy enough, so you should know it. Peter. Peter.
Deb has correctly identified the missing boy's first name. Now she focuses on the location.
Okay, so when I look at the property, I can actually see horses. The horses are behind him. He's not riding them or anything. I think he'd like to, but they're there on the property, horses. And he likes animals, he really does.
I can see a horse in a field.
It's funny because I keep hearing the words, horse run away.
On the day that Peter disappeared, he and 4 men went looking for missing horses.
I hear other voices, so he's with the crowd, he's with other people. then they're splitting up or going their different ways.
But see, the bushland keeps coming into it, so he's walked off into the bushland or someone's taking him to the bushland.
It's cold.
I feel like he knows the people really, really well, though. He's been with them before, he's spent time with them before, he knows them, or his parents know them, or something like that.
I get Kenneth. When I'm seeing an initial come up, I'm getting a K. So I'm seeing a K, a K-E-N, a Kenneth. That's the energy I'm getting with a name.
Ken Woods was the farm manager. Ken had driven Peter to the farm and was one of the last people to see the boy before he disappeared.
He keeps saying, I'm missing, where am I?
He's not the sort of child that would wander.
I also get with him, I'm not a bad boy, I didn't do anything wrong. I only wanted to go home.
So for him to wander off, that's just sort of out of the question.
He was taken away. He keeps saying I was taken away, and I do feel I'm outside, not in a house, so I can't see his body being in a house. I see him outside of the house.
He's a good boy, though. He's a good boy. He wouldn't do anything wrong by anyone. Doesn't hurt anyone. He's just so pure and innocent. Someone took him.
It's like my bottom lips started to... Like my bottom lips dropping, like I'm going to cry in a minute.
Someone took him. Because he was seen and then he wasn't seen.
It's a male's hand with him.
And then he keeps flashing me to this man.
And I can hear him say, let me go. Let me go.
And the darkness keeps coming in on top of him.
Doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel right with that person.
No, I feel like he's been murdered.
The way he went wasn't an accident. No accident. He was murdered.